On Wednesday night, the company released a statement confirming the move, adding that they have grave concerns over the state of his health. At the start of this month, Mr. Assange was jailed for 50 weeks for skipping bail in 2012. Mr. Assange's health had already significantly deteriorated after 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy, under conditions that were incompatible with basic human rights, the group said in a statement. It added, during the 7 weeks in Belmarsh his health has continued to deteriorate and he has dramatically lost weight. The decision of prison authorities to move him to the health ward speaks for itself. The Ministry of Justice has been contacted for comment. The move came a day before Assange was due to appear via video link for the latest hearing in his extradition case. Assange is facing extradition to the U.S., accused of conspiring to break into a classified Pentagon computer and facing 17 charges under the Espionage Act. Greg Barnes, an Australian lawyer and WikiLeaks advisor who visited Assange in January, said at the time Assange was suffering chronic pain in one arm and needed dental work. Assange's health continued to decline, he said. Related slideshow, Julian Assange timeline, provided by Photo Services. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange was arrested at the Ecuadorian embassy in London, England, on April 11, 2019. A London court sentenced him to 50 weeks in prison for breaching UK bail. He had been granted citizenship by Ecuador in late 2017 and was holed up in the country's embassy in London since 2010. We look back at the timeline of Assange's career at WikiLeaks and the events that led to his seeking refuge at the Ecuadorian embassy. The Australian computer hacker and internet freedom advocate found WikiLeaks.org as a platform for whistleblowers to post sensitive and secret political documents anonymously. The website releases information of illegal activities at the Cayman Islands branch of the Swiss bank Julius Baer that it received from former banker Rudolf Elmer. The bank sues WikiLeaks and, having obtained an injunction, the website is temporarily suspended. Elmer is convicted in Switzerland of breaching security laws and arrested. WikiLeaks releases a video of a 2007 U.S. military helicopter strike on Baghdad, Iraq, and the casualties that resulted from this attack, which included journalists Namir Noor Eldin, pictured, and his assistant. Their cameras were mistaken for weapons by the helicopter that opened fire on the group and the van. The U.S. military announces that Army Specialist Bradley Manning, now Chelsea Manning, who was deployed in Baghdad, has been arrested in connection with the leak. Manning was charged as a traitor who exposed U.S. military secrets about the wars in the Middle East. More than 91,000 documents, most of them secret U.S. military reports about the war in Afghanistan, are published on the website. In October, WikiLeaks releases another cache of 400,000 classified military files chronicling the war in Iraq from 2004 to 2009. Assange is invited to a seminar in Stockholm, Sweden, pictured, following which a Swedish court issues an arrest warrant due to an investigation of rape and molestation allegations made against him. WikiLeaks releases thousands of U.S. diplomatic cables that include candid views of foreign leaders and blunt assessments of security threats. The leaks make headlines across the globe and more are released in stages over the following months. Assange hands himself over to British authorities in London and is remanded in custody after a judge refuses to grant bail and there is an extradition hearing. Protesters start demonstrating outside the court where Assange is set to appear for his extradition hearing. Bail is eventually granted and he walks free, pictured, after supporters raise and pay £240,000 (42,016) in cash and sureties. He is placed under house arrest in eastern England. A judge rules Assange should be extradited to Sweden. A month later, Assange is given permission to appeal. However, the court backs Assange's extradition to Sweden in May 2012 over alleged sex offenses. After a year-long back and forth, Assange appeals in June 2012, but it is rejected. The website is also in the midst of a financial blockade. He takes refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, and asks for political asylum to avoid extradition to Sweden. He claims that, if extradited to Sweden, the US will seek his transfer to their country. Scotland Yard says he is subject to arrest for breaking the conditions of his bail. The British government threatens to storm the embassy to arrest Assange. A day later, Ecuador's Foreign Minister Ricardo Patino, pictured, announces that the country has granted Assange political asylum. Marking his 6th month at the embassy, Assange gave a Christmas address by letting people know the door is open for talks over his extradition efforts. The British police disclosed that the full cost of posting officers outside the Ecuadorian embassy is an estimated £10 million, $5.3 million. Assange announces via Twitter that he will give himself up to the British authorities if the UN panel rules against his claim that he is being arbitrarily detained. On the same day, the UN panel rules in his favor. His lawyers call for the Swedish extradition charges to be dropped, while the UK government calls the ruling deeply flawed. Named Vault 7 by WikiLeaks, thousands of leaked confidential documents from the Central Intelligence Agency (CIA) details their electronic surveillance and cyber warfare capabilities. The files show how the CIA breaks into phones, communication apps and other devices. Pictured, the then CIA Director Mike Pompeo. Ecuador's Foreign Minister Maria Fernanda Espinosa announced that they had granted citizenship to Assange. This was done to protect him from a British arrest warrant. The UK Foreign Office said this won't protect him and he'd eventually have to leave the embassy to face justice. The Ecuadorian government claimed to be working towards an extradition agreement with the UK. His internet connection was cut in March and restrictions were placed on visitors. He was also branded as a "miserable little worm" by UK Foreign Minister Sir Alan Duncan during a Commons debate. Assange sued Ecuador's Foreign Minister José Valencia, alleging that new house rules at the London embassy flouted fundamental rights and freedoms. He has been held in inhuman conditions for more than 6 years, said his lawyer Baltasar Garzón. A U.S. court filing accidentally revealed charges against the WikiLeaks founder. The papers, submitted in an unrelated case, mentioned someone called Assange. A Justice Department spokesperson said the filing was made in error. Barry Pollock, a lawyer for Assange, said, "The news that criminal charges have apparently been filed against Mr. Assange is even more troubling than the haphazard manner in which that information has been revealed." Increasing pressure on Assange to leave the country's embassy, Ecuadorian President Lenin Moreno, pictured, informed that Britain had provided written assurances stating it would not extradite Assange to face the death penalty abroad. In an interview with the Ecuadorian Radio Broadcasters Association, Moreno accused the WikiLeaks founder of repeatedly violating the terms of his asylum stay. Moreno also said that photos of my bedroom, what I eat, and how my wife and daughters and friends dance were being circulated online. He did not accuse Assange directly, but went on to say, Assange cannot lie or much less hack into private accounts or private phones, and he could not intervene in the politics of countries, or worse, friendly countries. Responding to tweet by WikiLeaks saying Assange would be expelled from the Ecuadorian embassy within hours to days, a senior Ecuadorian official said that no decision had been made in removing him from the building. Further to this, British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt, pictured, termed Assange a free man, and said he can leave that embassy whenever he wants to, so we want the situation resolved as quickly as possible. Assange was reminded that he couldn't stay in the Ecuador's London embassy indefinitely. During a press conference, Ecuador's Foreign Minister José Valencia, pictured, said it wouldn't be good for his state of mind, his health. Valencia added that should Assange choose to appear before the British justice system, he would be guaranteed fair trial and right to a defense. Assange was arrested from the Ecuadorian embassy after the country withdrew his asylum. Shortly after the arrest, Moreno released a video statement saying, "The transgression of international treaties have led the situation to a point where the asylum of Mr. Assange is unsustainable and no longer viable." The Metropolitan Police later tweeted, "He was arrested in relation to an extradition warrant on behalf of the United States authorities." Pictured, a police van is seen outside the Ecuadorian embassy after Assange was arrested. The Southwark Crown Court in London sentenced him to 50 weeks in prison for breaching UK bail and staying in the Ecuadorian embassy, out of the reach of British police. Pictured, he arrives at court on the day of sentencing. Swedish prosecutors announced that they have reopened the probe into a rape allegation against Assange that is believed to have taken place during his visit to Enköping in 2010. The activist has denied all charges. The Swedish prosecutor heading an investigation into the rape allegation against Assange, which he denies, this month filed a request with a local court for him to be detained with a hearing scheduled for June 3. Swedish defense lawyer Per Samuelsson told Reuters he had visited Assange in British custody on Friday, after which he had sought to have the hearing postponed. One of the reasons is that Assange's health situation on Friday was such that it was not possible to conduct a normal conversation with him, Mr. Samuelsson said. "I meant that it should be postponed until I had time to meet again and go through the issues in peace and quiet. I suggested no specific date and meant it should be postponed until everything was ready, but the district court has now decided that this won't happen. If the court order is granted, it would be the first step in a process to have Assange extradited from Britain. The British courts will have to rule on the two extradition requests, with the Home Secretary having the final say on which one takes precedence."